Hey Andrea, thank you so much for extending this request. I had some notification problems with my phone and I actually didn't realize it was expiring, and so I really appreciate you extending it because I'm really happy to give you a bunch of answers on these awesome questions. I'm also, by the way, pretty observant, and I noticed that Kinley is your avatar, which I love. So here I am in my trailer for this TV show I'm shooting for Apple, which I'm finishing today. It'll be on, I don't know when. It'll be on soon, hopefully. But thank you so much for watching Jane Anger. It's so cool that you watched. I have to tell you, I remember that I haven't watched the movie, the filming, the capture, as we call it in the biz, but I know what performance it was, and I actually made a mistake that night. So basically the way it worked was my real arms were tied behind my back, or were, placed behind my back, and they put this giant suit on me with the arms that fell off, and then they put these two bulbs in my hands. The right bulb splurted the right blood and vice versa. But they were accidentally put in the wrong hands. Probably because of my fault. Probably because I put my hands back in the wrong way. I don't remember why. But so what you saw was the blood coming out of the wrong arm. And it was a mistake. It was still very funny. People really liked it. It was really weird and crazy. But that was not what was supposed to happen. Basically, when the arm gets cut off, the stump is supposed to bleed, not the other arm. And vice versa. Anyway, crazy, right? All right, here we go. If you could change the scene of any of the musicals you have done, what would it be and why? Really good question. Well, when I was in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, there's this really, really funny scene where my character shows up at the top of the second act. I played Bud Frump, and I show up at the top of the second act, and I have this great scene with Finch, who was played by Nick Jonas when I did it on Broadway. And basically, he's playing this sort of reverse psychology thing with him, where he convinces Finch to take on an idea of his that he knows will never get used because he already pitched the idea to his uncle, who hated it. Okay. And then at the end of the scene, you realize that Frump, who I played, pulled one over on Finch. And the whole show, Finch has been pulling one over on everyone else. And of course this ends up backfiring because Frump is an idiot and Finch is a genius. But in that scene, he's playing along, and then he does something that Finch has been doing the entire time, where he comes down and he talks to the audience and basically says, I did it. Did you see that? I did it. And nobody else has been talking to the audience except for Finch. Does that make sense? So Finch has always had this relationship with the audience, and in this moment, Frump has a relationship with the audience. And I feel like if it were me and I was doing it again, or I was directing it or whatever, I would do more with that. I would do, I would have a moment where Frump owns the audience, and then the audience gets taken away from him, so that the whole thing backfires for him. It's kind of fun, right? Okay. This is not a question, but your character, Mark, and everybody explains me to be proud of the person that I am as a non-binary and asexual woman, as well as not to give up on my dreams and goals. Ugh, this is so great. It means a lot that Mark speaks to you. And it also, I think you're so brave and awesome and true to yourself, and good for you. And I think Mark, and I know Michael, would also be inspired by you. So, good on you. Fave line or song from any musical or play you have ever done or seen. Okay, well, I love Okay, it's actually from How to Succeed. Okay, it's a great line, and it was mine. At the end of the play, when Frump, the villain, gets found out, and basically gets dragged away. Everybody's like, get him out of here. He's terrible. All these guys surround him. And he's like, come on, Art, remember all the fun, the laughs, the great times we had, Johnny. And he turns to these two guys, all these guys who are surrounding him, and he's like, we had a great time. You and I, we used to be best pals. He's basically trying to say, don't drag me away. We're friends. He's like, don't drag me away. You know, we're the laughs, the good times. Remember all the dates, the nights out. And then he turns to a third guy, and he goes, you I never liked. So funny. All right, well, what else can I tell you, Andrea? I appreciate you booking me and extending my booking. And I hope that you're doing great up there in Toronto, as I believe it's pronounced. Toronto, that first O is silent. Kinley says hi. Mwah. Take care.